And when it is about natural disaster, this Senate has always, I second the motion. And let me add that this House has a tradition. Once it is a matter that concerns human life, human and natural disaster, this Senate has never wait for any other day, but to reflect on what happened to the communities and commensurate with them. However, it is important for us to also know that flood has become a global phenomenon. It is global in nature. Some of it is human, some of it is man-made. But our problem in this country, Mr. President, is that where it is man-made, people are hardly called to account for their action or inaction. Every time there is flood in one community or the other, there is death and destruction of life and property, it becomes business as usual immediately after it. And because this House dedicates large sums of taxpayers' money in environment, in ecology, and the state government also replicate that. So it is important when there are some of these things that officiating officials that are in that agency should be called to account, should be questioned, and where there are infractions, people should be sanctioned. It is not normal to keep on repeating ourselves without seeing any positive result. I believe this is a very straightforward motion. It's a human motion, and the Senate should come and back it with all its force. I so submit.
Thank you. Ninja said it's a very straightforward motion, direct to the point. So, but let me give the opportunity for Senator Benga Daniel, because his area is also affected by the flood, to say his contribution.
Thank you very much, our Senate President. Once again, I'm Benga Daniel, Senator representing Ogun East Senatorial District. I want to also specially thank both the Swiss Senator Tokumbo Abiro for bringing about this once again. As he has rightly indicated, this disaster affects both Lagos and Ogun State. And if this distinguished Senate will remember, a motion on flooding is one of the ones that we have raised at the beginning of this 10th Senate. I also want to recall that in these locations, this has become an annual ritual. I remember the year 2010, when we had something major like this. I had the privilege of inviting the then President, Goodluck Jonathan, who visited Majido and also Isheri area. And part of what we needed to do is to look at a holistic approach to this global warming problem that is leading to flood everywhere in most locations in Nigeria. So far, what we have been able to do is palliatives, because without any doubt, the total solution is not going to be cheap. But my appeal this morning is that if it is palliatives that we want to give, we should give those palliatives as soon as possible. Because as I speak to you, I know that the entire Isheri axis, virtually about 100,000 people are now displaced, squatting in one location or the other. So my prayer to the House is that whatever needs to be done by way of palliative, either by NEMA or other agencies, should be done expeditiously. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Senator, now we have one.
These are areas that mostly are water prone, or they are supposed to be water passage. But our people, seeing that these places have become dry land, they have moved in, built houses there, and they have started, they've settled there. So we will want the relevant agencies to also try and carry out proper mapping of such areas so that they can warn people, and if possible, the federal government should try to evacuate some of them from these areas so that we don't have this continuous occurrence of victims being affected by flood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We now go to the prayers. Number one, commiserate with the victims of the flood disaster and commend the government of Lagos and Ogun states for their handling of the crisis occasioned by the flood disaster. And those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Direct the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to send relief to the victims of the flood in the affected communities in Lagos and Ogun states. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Urge the federal government to convene a stakeholders meeting to explain the recurring situation of flood across the country with a view to proffering a lasting solution to flood disasters. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Direct the relevant committees, direct relevant committees of the Senate to provide adequate funding for the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, Hydrological Agency of Nigeria, and the River Basin Development Authorities to effectively carry out their responsibilities in line with their mandates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Urge the executive arm of the government to implement the recommendations of the Presidential Committee for the Development of a Comprehensive Plan of Action, which recommended the establishment of a National Flood Management Council in Nigeria to serve as a central body responsible for coordinating flood management activities nationwide. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you, Senator Abiru, for moving this motion, and we thank all those that contributed in the debate. But the most important thing is, as said by Senator Onao, that this has been a recurring problem. So those that are responsible, those that have the mandate to deal with the matter should come together and make sure a lasting solution is found in order to stop devastation that these kind of thing, the flood that comes every year does not continue to create problem for the people.
Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Karimi Sunday Steve on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 119. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 119, first reading.
Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 119, first reading taken. The leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Olubiyi Fadeyi Oluwole on the Federal University of Education, Ila-Orangun, Osun State, Establishment Bill 2023, SB 207. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of Senate.
Distinguished senators, Federal University of Education, Ila-Orangun, Osun State Establishment Bill 2023, SB 207, first reading.
Federal University of Education, Ila Rogum, Ogun State. Ila Rogum, Ogun State. Ocean State. Bill 2023, SB 207, first reading taken. The leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ndume Mohammed Ali on the Agricultural Research Council Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 208. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 208, first reading.
Agricultural Research Council Act, Amendment Bill 2023, SB 208, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Saliu Mustafa on the Donkey Slaughter Regulation and Export Certification Bill 2023, SB 209. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Donkey Slaughter Regulation and Export Certification Bill 2023, SB 209, first reading.
Donkey Slaughter Regulation and Export Certification Bill 2023, SB 209, first reading taken. The Senate Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Kaka Shehu Lawan on the Orthopedic Hospital Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 210.
The Clerk of the Senate. The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Orthopedic Hospital Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 210, first reading.
Orthopedic Hospitals Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 210, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Ohere Sadiku Abubakar on the Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 211. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 211, first reading.
Federal Medical Center Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 211, first reading taken. The Senate Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the seventh business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Moro Abba Patrick on the Agricultural Research Council Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 212. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of Senate to read the short title of the bill.
The Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Agricultural Research Council Act Amendment Bill 2023, SB 212, first reading.
Agricultural Research Council Act Amendment Bill 2023 SB 212, first reading taken. The Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. The first order of the day is a motion requesting the Senate to consider the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief for the confirmation of the nomination of Mr. Musa Adamu Aliyu for appointment as Chairman, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, ICPC, in accordance with Section 3, subsection 6 of the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission, ICPC Establishment Act 2000. Mr. President, distinguished senators, in order to carry out this exercise in conformity with our Standing Order 12 on floor privileges, I will move a motion that the Senate do admit the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters into the Senate chamber, and as well suspend same Order 12 to admit the nominee and his entourage into the Senate chamber. Mr. President, I so move.
The Minority Leader.
Thank you, President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. I rise to second the motion that the House to suspend our rules to allow strangers to come into the House. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion moved by the Leader of the Senate and seconded by the Minority Leader, please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate Leader. Motion to come.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, I stand to move that the Senate do resolve into the Committee of Whole to conduct the confirmation hearing. Mr. President, I so move.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to second the motion ably moved by the Senate Leader that the House resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider the nomination.
Those in favor of the motion as moved by the leader and seconded by the minority leader, please say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished senators, we have before us Dr. Musa. He's a doctor of law. Dr. Musa Adamu Aliyu, senior advocate of Nigeria, the nominee of Mr. President to serve as the chairman of ICPC. Is here to be screened. You have the time to screen him, to ask him questions after he has presented himself by stating his resume and whatever he feels he needs to tell us to strengthen the fact that he's fit to occupy the seat of the chairman of ICPC. Mr. Nominee, you can present yourself, tell them your pedigree, or whatever you feel you can tell them to convince them that you are fit to occupy the position. You may wish to start your presentation.
In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful, the President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Barrow I. Jibrin, the Leader of the Senate, my senior colleague in the legal profession, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, live bencher. Mr. President, with your kind permission, I want to recognize the 3 senators from Jigawa State. Distinguished Senator Mustafa Kabib, representing Jigawa Southwest, which is my senatorial district. Then Senator Babangida Usaini, representing Jigawa Northwest. And last but not the least, Senator Ahmed Mohammed, representing Jigawa Northeast. Mr. President, with your kind leave, I will also want to recognize the leadership of the Senate and my elder brother, Senator Suleiman Abdurrahman Kawu Sumaila, and my good friend, distinguished Senator Kakalawan Shehu, who is a friend, a brother, a classmate at law school, and also a former colleague because he was Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Borno State. And also all other distinguished senators, I sincerely acknowledge you. Mr. President, I would like to first express my deep gratitude to Almighty Allah for sparing my life to be healthy and stand before this esteemed body to address you as a nominee of Mr. President to head the Independent Court of Practice and Other Related Offenses Commission. I have no words to express my sincere appreciation to Mr. President Alhaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, for finding me competent to be his nominee in the exalted office of Chairman, Independent Court of Practices and Other Related Offenses Commission. Mr. President, I am really humble for the nomination, and by the grace of God, I will never fail this country down, and I will make you proud. Mr. President, today is a historic day for me, and I feel nostalgic, and how I wish my late father and my late mother are alive to witness this great occasion that their child, whom they nurture from cradle, has become a full-grown man to stand before an esteemed body as a nominee of the Mr. President. Mr. President of the Senate, really, I feel, because she has properly brought us up, and because of our effort, today, two of our children, my humble self and my elder brother, are senior advocate of Nigeria, from the same father and the same mother. And I pray, may Almighty Allah grant all our parents Jannatul Firdaus. Mr. President, standing before you is a 45-year-old Nigerian, an indigenous of Jigawa State, a serving Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Jigawa State, a senior advocate designate. I was born on the 27th of December, 1977, at Garki Town in former Kano State. Mr. President, I did my primary school at Central Primary School, Borno Kudu, from 1983 to 1989. In 1990, I was enrolled into Government College Bauchi as an exchange program student from former Kano State to the then Bauchi State, which consists of Bauchi and Gombe now. I finished that school in 1995, where I obtained my WAS certificate in 1995. In 1996, I was at Kano State College of Arts and Science and Remedial Studies, Kano, for my IJMB, which I finished in 1997. In 1998, Mr. President of the Senate and distinguished members of this august body, I got admission into the Faculty of Law, Bayero University, Kano, in 1998. And I finished that faculty in the year 2003 with a bachelor degree in Common and Islamic Law. In 2003, I got admission into the Nigerian Law School, where I finished in 2004. In 2004, I did my NYSC in Gombe at a law firm of ICPC and Company for a period of 1 year. After I finished, Mr. President, I started private legal practice with the former Attorney General of Kano State, Alhaji Ali Umar SAN of blessed memory. In 2006, I got admission into the Faculty of Law, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for my second degree, where I spent 5 years. I obtained master's degree in Islamic law in that prestigious university. In 2012, I went back to the same Faculty of Law, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, for my third degree in constitutional law. I started in 2012, but in 2016, I left this country to Malaysia. whereby I got admission into the University Utara, Malaysia, where I did PhD in constitutional law with specialization in appointment and discipline of judicial officers. Mr. President of the Senate and other distinguished members of this august body, in my legal practice, I was tutored by two distinguished legal practitioners. The first one is Alhaji Ali Umar SAN. Then my principal during my NYSC, Mr. Aki Peter, whom I am always grateful to him. Then my elder brother, Professor Nasru Adamu Aliyu SAN, and Honorable Justice Muhammad Kabir Dabo, then Mr. Kabir Dabo. I worked under them where I learned the rope of the legal profession. Mr. President of the Senate, I am also an academic. I taught at the Jigawa State College of Islamic and Legal Studies. I also taught at the Faculty of Law, Nigeria Police Academy, Wudil, Kano. Mr. President, in 2019, after I came back from Malaysia, the former governor of Jigawa State, now Minister of Defense, Alhaji Badr Abubakar MNI, appointed me as Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice in Jigawa State, where I served for a period of 4 years. And in July 12, 2023, the current governor of Jigawa State, Malam Umar Namadi, FCA, also appointed me as Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Jigawa State. Mr. President, I am a member of Nigerian Bar Association, member of Muslim Law Association of Nigeria, member of Nigerian Law Teachers Association, member of Body of Benches, member of Council of Legal Education, and other several bodies. And Mr. President and distinguished members of this august body, I have written widely areas around issue of judiciary and integrity. And I have also attended several conferences where I presented various papers which has to do with judiciary, issue of corruption, and other issue of rule of law. And Mr. President, I'm currently the chairman of, alternate chair of Human Rights and Rule of Law of the Nigerian Bar Association. Previously, I served as vice chairman of Kano branch of the Nigerian Bar Association. I was also a member of anti-corruption committee of that branch of Nigerian Bar, Kano branch. Mr. President, during my tenure as Attorney General between 2019 to 2023, I have vigorously pursued parish reforms in areas of rights of women and children, correctional service, corruption, anti-corruption, and policing. And Mr. President, this is Musa Adamu Aliyu, an SAN designate, and Senior Advocate of Nigeria designate. Thank you.
We'll start with Senator Babangida Hussaini, who is going to speak on behalf of the senators from Jigawa State. Senator Babangida Hussaini.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sitting as the chair. Distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Babangida Hussaini, representing Jigawa, northwest of Jigawa State. I'm from Jigawa State. The nominee before you, distinguished colleagues, is an accomplished academician. One of the best material we are putting forward for appointment into the exalted office of the chair ICPC. In line with the Mr. President's renewed hope agenda that is promoting excellence, integrity in public office, this is what he is presenting before you for consideration. Before I go further, Mr. President, sir, with your leave and your kind permission, I would like to acknowledge the good work the immediate past chairman of the ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasanoye, has put in the ICPC, promoting intellectualism, pragmatism, and integrity in the work of the ICPC. I wish to acknowledge the good work he has done, and I believe it is in line with that that Mr. President deemed it fit to also bring on board another academician, a young man of repute, integrity, diligence, and humbleness in public office. He's the current Attorney General, Honorable Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice of Jigawa State, and through the instrumentality of the office he occupies in Jigawa State, we have had tremendous reforms in the judicial administration of Jigawa State. His record speaks for him, but I'd like to draw the attention of this distinguished Senate to page 7 of his resume, paragraph 3. That speaks about integrity. That speaks about nationalism. That speaks about democracy and democratization. And I believe with these achievements, I have no doubt in my mind that this esteemed chamber will have no reason not to screen and confirm the nominee. As Commissioner of Justice of Jigawa State, he was deeply involved in reforming the management of the judicial system. I have had cause to interrelate with him on matters of legal issues at the electoral tribunals. His sound advice, his wise counsel had helped greatly in bringing about sanity in the operations of the tribunal, both from the litigant and from the defense team. With your kind permission, sir, while it is obvious that the office he's aspiring and nominated to occupy is an office that demands scrutiny, I have no doubt that from the resume presented here, from his presentation, I believe he will be given all the necessary recognition and also the necessary clearance and allowed to take a bow and take leave of this hallowed chamber. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I thank my colleagues for taking time to go through his resume. Thank you, sir.
Senator Mohammed Adamu Alero.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mohammed Adamu Alero is my name. I represent Kebbi Central. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me start by commending Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu for nominating this gentleman to be the chairman of ICPC. I do so because I look at his resume. He is no doubt an outstanding scholar. He has been in the system, both in the academics, in the judiciary, and also in politics, being the Attorney General of Jigawa State. And I believe very strongly that he will move this country forward by fighting corruption head-on. We know, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, corruption is the conquer worm. It has been the main problem militating against the development of this country. I wouldn't want us to ask him to take a bow and go. We would like to know his approach to fighting corruption, bearing in mind that he's a lawyer. He has written so many theses on corruption. I can read some of them here in his resume. Impact of corruption on administration of justice in Nigeria, paper presented at the first anti-corruption summit organized by Kano State Anti-Corruption Institute on the 9th December 2022. The second one, unveiling the dark and unveiling the dark side of the legal practice, implication of misappropriating clients' money by legal practitioners in Nigeria. Just yesterday, Mr. President, we passed a bill on cybercrime, and here it is. He also wrote, Caught in the Web, Navigating Nigeria's Legal Complexities in the Fight Against Cybercrime, being a paper presented at first annual public lecture with the theme, Native Intelligence and Artificial Intelligence in Policing in Nigeria, organized by the Department of Islamic and Customary Law. Mr. President, this is the kind of nominees we want for this job. And I have no doubt that he will perform optimally. He will make us proud. I therefore have no hesitation in saying that he should take a bow and go after responding to what I've asked him. Thank you very much. Yes, so for all of you.
Yeah, Mike. Well, you know, Senator Alero is one of the elders in the Senate. He always called a spade a spade. He has said it. Probably, well, let's hear from my own leader. If he says the same thing, then we shouldn't waste time. And
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Let me also congratulate